Hello everyone, welcome back. I was doing my workout and a great question popped up on my phone that I kind of had to have the answer to because I wasn't exactly sure what the answer was. I had to quickly, I had an idea what it would be, but I wanted to take a closer look at it. So I'm at the gun range. This is basically my office where I work out when I'm not shooting guns. And it's dark outside, so that's the reason why we're indoors, because it's wintertime, it gets dark at 5 o'clock outside. So a question popped up on my phone. The question is, why is it that on Glock clones that have the window cuts, why is it that if dirt gets in there, right, that can be problematic, right? That can cause these guns to jam up. But why is it that on a Beretta, right, which basically is it's got the biggest window cut that you ever seen, right? They're like the original window cut here. So that's all window cut. Why is it that the Beretta is relatively reliable with this gigantic window cut? And, basically the military had used this gun for a very lengthy period of time. Now, it is debatable as to how reliable these guns were. A lot of people say that the reason why they weren't reliable in the military is because proper maintenance was not done on them. I can tell you guys, I've never had any problems with this gun. Now, this gun does not have the high round counts that my Glocks have. Now, part of the reason for that is back when I was, soon after I became a gun instructor, and I basically had to make a decision on what guns to train people with. I considered the Beretta, and what I found out is that the locking block, right, had to be replaced every 5,000 rounds. And that just was not feasible for me, okay? I did a video on this. My Glock 17 went 75,000 rounds, all original parts, including recoil spring, okay? I know that I'm not supposed to do that, but that's what it did. It wasn't until 75,000 rounds that the trigger spring broke, and I had to get that changed out. And then I think it went another 20,000 rounds and the trigger spring broke again. But the Glock was very reliable. I found out with the Beretta, I had to change the locking block every 5,000 rounds. I'm like, forget it, that's just not going to work for me. But besides that, the question that we're addressing here is, why is it that the window cut, this gigantic window cut on the Beretta 92, why is that not a problem? Okay, and I didn't really know the answer to that. I had to take. I kind of knew what to look for. So what I did is I took out this Beretta 92. Now here's the thing with the Glock design, right? And I have here a little bread tie. One of the things that you'll notice, right, where if we look over here, obviously this gun's not loaded, I already checked it. If you look at the space over here where the barrel meets the slide, if I take this little zip tie thing and I try to pass it through, there's really no space. There's really no space between the barrel and the slide. That's very tight, okay, and it has to be tight, because otherwise if the barrel is moving around in the slide, the gun's not going to be accurate, right? So the barrel and the slide need to lock together in order for this gun to be accurate. And obviously you got that barrel slide lock up, and of course if you get a significant amount of dirt in there, that's also going to prevent this from locking up. But that's the thing I wanted to point out here, right? I cannot pass this zip tie between the barrel and the slide, because that depends, the gun's accuracy depends on this being very tight over here, right? Now, if we look at the Beretta 92, okay, the same zip tie, and again, I already checked this, same zip tie. If I take this, you'll notice that, look how easily it passes through, right? See how that passes through? Right, I can pass this back and forth through. So if you take your Beretta 92 and if you look over here, okay, the slide up here is not what holds the barrel in place. The barrel is not dependent, okay, on the slide up here holding this in place, right? And that's evidenced by, if you just look through it, you can see that the two aren't even connected, right? You could take a paper clip, anything, and you could just you can easily run it through like that, right? You can see how that's coming out. So if you get dirt, sand, or anything up here, you know, in fact, you could probably just, let's say you took a Dremel, you cut this piece over here out, right? You cut this slide, the gun would probably work fine because it's not depending on that. So there's a huge gap in here, okay? So it was really hard for me to type this in, explain this, so I had to do a video on this, and I didn't even want to wait until tomorrow. Whereas on the Glock design, basically the barrel and the slide lock together. You don't have the extra piece of that locking block that you have on the Beretta. So let me take the Beretta apart for a second. Okay, so if we take the Beretta apart, all right, so if we look at, basically you've got rails inside over here that the locking block runs along, right? So this locking block over here, you've got these things that stick out over here, right? And they run on rails on the inside. So that's what the barrel runs on, not this piece up here. Okay, not this piece up here. And the thing is, if I put this in there and I push it up against those rails, okay, right, and I move this up and down, right, I'm just moving the locking block, I can see that there's a good deal of space. You can hear it go up and down. So if you get sand or something in there, I mean, it could jam it up. I mean, that would be an area that you could have a problem, but it seems like there's plenty of space in there for that dirt and dust to fall out, okay? So this gigantic window that you have over here, because I could take a Dremel. The only purpose I can see of this piece over here is to keep the front sight in there so that you can aim the gun. Because if this piece wasn't here, you wouldn't be able to put a front sight on the gun. You wouldn't be able to shoot the gun with iron sights. So that's the only purpose that I see of this piece up here. Okay, let's put this back together. So again, the thing that turned me off about the Beretta is the fact that the locking block needs to be changed like every 5,000 pounds. And I do think that there's some aftermarket parts that they make where you can run it up to like 10,000 rounds. I mean, like back in, like, especially like in 2020, 2021, when I was like really busy training people, I mean, sometimes I was going through like 4,000 rounds a month. Okay, so with the type of round counts that I do, this design is not going to work for me. It's just not economical. I mean, I've got my Glock 17 that, like I said, that's up to, but I made it all the way up to about 95,000 rounds. The first time it broke was at 75,000 rounds. I've got a number of these polymer 80s that I have built that have, I think at least 3 of them that have 10,000 rounds each. Not this one. This one's like a safe queen. Okay, but I got like 3 of them that have like 10,000 rounds. I got another one that's got like 5,000 rounds. So here's the thing: when Beretta designed this gun, okay, they designed this gun to have this gigantic window up here. Okay, they designed it for that, you know, to have that. Whereas when Glock designed their gun, they did not design it to have this window cut over here. So that would be a reason, I think, why a Glock gun with window cuts will be less reliable. Okay, whereas the Beretta, which with its gigantic window, which is factory designed that way, right, it will be reliable because that's how it was designed to work. This was not designed to work with that gigantic window cut. Okay, so that's it's just, I think that's just what it is. Now, why would you want to have window cuts? I mean, again, it does dissipate some of the heat off of the barrel. For me, it offsets the extra weight of the optic, so that makes it useful. So now, the gun does spend most of its time in its holster. So I think that's less of an issue. So if you got a good holster that will keep the gun clean, the window cuts become less of an issue, I think. But yeah, if this ends up in the ground and you get dirt or sand, or I mean this gun will probably jam up before this gun does. Okay, so those are my thoughts on that. You know, let me know what you guys think, if you agree with me or if you disagree with me. But those are the logical reasons why I think that the Glock with the window cuts, it can be problematic, whereas the Beretta with its factory designed window cut is not a problem. Okay, so get back to my workout. Talk to y'all soon. Oops.